Welcome to another Three Geeks Conversations. Jason, Justin, Destiny, Scott. We're joined by Stephanie Nadolny. Stephanie, welcome. You and I hung out on the FSF podcast a couple years ago, I think, and I remember your Beavis and Butthead impression was amazing.
Yeah, probably so. No, doesn't surprise me.
How are you today?
I'm good. How's everyone doing? Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Almost a new year.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
For sure.
Very excited. So what got you on your journey to voice acting?
It started as a kid. I've always had an ear for music and voices, sound effects, anything like that. I started singing and imitating my friends and making my own radio shows as I got older. Got involved with theater, dramatic arts, musical theater. We did move around a lot, so it was a really tough transition every 2 or 3 years, trying to kind of fit into a new group of people. A lot of them were small towns, and then eventually a big town when I ended up graduating here in DFW, Texas. And then I went to UNT for dramatic arts and started kind of getting involved with other show bands and different performing bands in the region. Started sitting in with some of them and ended up with a couple of auditions, and kind of one thing led to another. And I joined a show band in 1991 called Vince Vance and the Valiants, featuring the vivacious vixens of rock and roll, Venus, Violet, and Victoria. I was Violet. And then I basically kind of never looked back. I toured and performed live with costumes. It was like a Vegas act. We went all over the United States, parts of Canada. We did do a USO tour in 2000 for the Navy. And man, I was on my way. I met other people through the music industry and started working for Chuck E. Cheese as Helen the Hen for a very short time. And I worked at Jimmy Toys, which is a company that puts the sound bites in all of the little toys that twirl around and sing. And I was able to utilize singing and voice acting at the same time, which was something I found out was a little more of a unique talent. And from there, I started singing with a band called Brave Combo on the side. And we started performing we actually ended up recording original material. And Barry Watson was a big fan of Brave Combo. And he asked me if I did voice work. And I said, yes. And then about 6 months later, I was called in to audition for something I'd never heard of, Dragon Ball Z.
You still do music
that was
today?
1998.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, long time ago.
Cool.
Auditioned for all the female roles. Didn't really know anything about it. And at the end of my audition, the three judges asked me to see, asked me if I could voice a young boy. And so I kind of threw out some young boy voices, and they asked me to be a little more raspy with the voice. How about this? And I guess within a week or so, I got the call back stating they'd like me to play the role of Gohan in Dragon Ball Z. And from there, it was just a matter of jumping in the booth and following direction and getting, into an environment that was, different. It wasn't a stage. There wasn't an audience. But I just, I'd learned to adapt along the way in so many different situations involving performance. So I just followed suit, showed up when they needed me. Sometimes months and months would go by and I wouldn't be needed. So I was singing in my show band, and then I would just kind of book session time as needed, 1, 2, 3 hours at a time. And then things kind of progressed from there with the company. They had acquired more animes. The company was called Funimation. We recorded in Fort Worth. And that's how it started for me.
That's awesome. For Dragon Ball Z and other animes, do they give you a lot of context? We've talked to some other voice actors, and sometimes they're very strict on the context you're given as a character and like, what does this episode mean? Like, I think we talked to someone from Naruto, and they basically said, they just told me my lines. I didn't know who was talking to me. I didn't know the environment. Like, they basically cut out all the context out for you as an actor. Is that something similar for Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z? Or
for me, because we went line to line, there wasn't really anybody to act off of, but we would just react to. If someone had come in before us, we would hear their voice in our headphones, and we had paper scripts, and we were in a little bitty booth. It was all padded, and we would watch the screen and mimic the mouth flaps. So early on, I had to rely a lot on the, direction, more so because I had not really done a show quite like that in that particular way of recording. It's called ADR. It's dubbing. And but my music background ended up being a benefit because I was able to memorize the rhythm of the flaps as if it had a rhythm. And after seeing the visuals, usually I could deliver the line twice because I would see it and deliver the line again to, almost immediately. And then they could move it back to fit if it fit. If any adjustments needed to be made, we made those on the spot. Director had all the I guess, creativity, and if he felt like a line was too long or too short, we would make adjustments and we would just go with it. So sometimes most times I didn't really know what I was going to record.
Sure.
From the minute I walked in, and it would just be whatever they needed, whether it was pickups. A lot of us at the time would do multiple characters. We would do background characters, women screaming, babies crying. Eventually, randomly got the voice, got cast as East Kai. I'm the queen and I'm moving the gold. Oh my. And that one kind of came unexpected. I had some time left in my session and I auditioned for that character, and that was really fun. Really wacky, which I find it more a little easier for me to be more of a comedic actress, just because I've had so much music and theater background, and most of the stuff that I'm better at has naturally been comedy. And over the top crazy voices are just something I had the most experience with. So it kind of depended on the director. There were some days when other directors would come fill in because they had to record Monday through Friday, and then it was just a matter of going through the machine. If something had to be redone, we would do what they call a pickup session, and we would do all the pickups or all the changes or all the alternate lines that when it went through the approval process. And so sometimes they were pickup sessions, sometimes they were backup sessions, background voices. They call that walla, where say villagers in the background or whatever's going on in the background of the scene, they would have to layer those. If it's a big crowd, we'd have to layer 3 or 4 people in the booth at once, and then they would just layer it, and we would just randomly, talk in the background, and they would just layer that, and it would sound like, 100 people or whatever they needed. So it was a really great learning experience, and unfortunately, Texas is a right to work state. It's there's no residuals or royalties. We were just pretty much paid by the hour, and that was kind of it. As the company grew and as the talent became more and more versatile, efficient, at some point I think we did get an hourly rate increase. But for me, residuals and royalties are my appearances, traveling, meeting the fans at Comic-Cons, pop culture events, comic stores, special events, whatever it is. So I'm just kind of a freelance, self-employed, feast or famine voice actor now. Kind of how it is.
Would you ever listen to like the Japanese lines or anything at any point, or would they pretty much let you kind of we have an idea and we kind of want you to, this is the angle we want you to voice?
I never heard any of the Japanese voices until I came back for Daima over the past year. When we first started recording, there was no reference, there was no voice to listen to. At the time, I was, traveling and touring a lot, so I wasn't home much. I didn't have a computer yet, so I didn't really know what to research if there was any researching to be done. So I pretty much just relied on the director, and slowly got to know more about the story. If I had questions, I could ask questions, and we just kind of did it that way. And then I would come, walk out when someone might be walking in. So that's kind of how I got to meet the other actors from back in the day, or we might be passing in the break room, or kind of walking down the hall. And some of the directors were also voice actors for the show, so I got to know them a little better. Sonny Strait, who also plays Krillin, Mike McFarland, who also voiced Master Roshi and Yajirobe and some of the other characters. So we kind of had a close knit group there for several years. The company kind of kept growing, and I kind of outgrew the building and eventually moved, I think, in like 2009. So we were all working there a good decade before that happened, and that's kind of how it was for me. When I came back for Daima, which was a complete dream come true, that kind of came out of nowhere. Toei Japan decided they wanted Goku Mini to be voiced by the original nostalgic Funimation actor, which is myself. They had paid attention to a lot of the social media, and a lot of the fans were like, we want Stephanie, or we want the original voice. I'm not real sure how that transpired, but Toei Japan, which is the owner of the company and the copyright, they're the ones that decided they wanted me back for Dragon Ball Daima. And it had been 16 years since I'd finished Dragon Ball GT and the start of Daima. So I was beyond ready to be back to work on something that I'm so passionate about. But the process has completely changed now. The company is now called Crunchyroll, different ownership, lots of animes going on, lots of recording every day. There are no more paper scripts. Everything's on computer flat screens, which eliminates the hazard of being loud or rustling papers and things like that. Headphones, a much larger booth. I got to meet a new director, Jonathan Rigg, and the ADR dubbing director, Jameson. We had great chemistry. I actually auditioned before I was, invited back to voice the character, and things went really well. And I just kind of said, well, let's see what happens, because sometimes you get replaced, or sometimes they change directors and they want to go a different direction. So I pretty much just went in with no expectations, and was really happy to be brought back. And so the entire process is completely different 16 years later. But it was amazing. The director gave me a lot of flexibility with trying the line before any direction was given. He kind of knew I'd voiced the character many years ago and had a really good idea of what the character was about and the story. And then he would just set up the scene. And at that point, I was able to hear the Japanese voices. They would play before we would record. So we would get an idea as an actor what's taking place, if your character's screaming, if whispering, crying in battle, if it's a small reaction, a large reaction, a loud reaction. That he kind of gave me a lot of flexibility with that. And if I got it right out the gate, we kept it. If not, I usually gave him a safety right after, and they could pick between the two. And so it was just up to pretty much me and the director to kind of follow along. And if anything else needed to be, done, they would just call me in and we'd do another session. But we got it done pretty quick. We took a holiday break last year for over a month, but it brought me back in and we wrapped up in March. And then it was time to do the video game. So that was another experience at another studio with another director across town. And that was a blast. I had a really good time recording the dialogue for the video games, the DLCs.
I was going to ask about that. Is that a stark difference than what you had been experiencing before? I mean, our video game is vastly different in terms of it's all voice acting, but different layers and different kind of emotions. And how did that work?
Every time I came in, it was a different game, and we would skip around. The director would kind of go section by section. If there's like dialogue, we would always save the most intense, straining reactions, battles, Kamea blasts for the very end of the session, so that we would kind of do it on a gradual scale of intensity. I was good with doing whatever. I had already been I'd already kind of roughed it with the way we used to do things. So making things easier was a nice little cushion. to not feel like, okay, we're going to just scream for an hour. I was ready to do that. The show must go on. That's my mentality, coupled with a great work ethic. So I just basically followed along. Damon Mills was my director for all the video games, and he was really easy to work with, and was a voice actor himself. So he knew the challenges that I would be facing and his technical side of things. And we did a great job, and I made sure not to rush anything. I know that in Dragon Ball Daima, Super Saiyan 4 Mini, Goku doesn't have any spoken dialogue. He's only in battle as in that form in the actual episodes. So that was something I wasn't expecting. I'd already been recording several of the games, and when I came in for the most recent game a few months ago, all of a sudden there's dialogue, because all the characters that are in the video games have dialogue, because it's up to the player to choose who they want to challenge or fight or represent as the character of their choice. So when it came time to do that, I kind of said, hey, wait a minute, whoa, we need to really take some time and really make this dialogue make sense as the Goku Mini progresses. Eventually, Sean Schemmel takes over as the voice of Goku adult. So I texted him a few times to kind of make sure we were on the same page, and he was kind of right there with me. And we had the same ideas, animalistic, very beastie, gritty. And so when it came time to do the dialogue, it was a challenge, but there needed to be something unique about that form in spoken dialogue. So I made sure to take care to make sure that it was done to the best of our abilities, to make sure we conveyed the right meaning and the right voice for that specific character speaking to other characters. So that kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm like, I made sure hey, it's not just another session. This isn't Super Saiyan Gohan. This is Super Saiyan 4 Goku Mini. And this is him, being recorded with dialogue for the first time. So I'm always up for the challenge, but you just have to be ready for that. You have to be kind of on your toes. And that can be more challenging for others. I find it to be, kind of fun. It's like I'm going to a session and I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. And so you got to learn how to be resilient and, be able to think on your feet and stay focused and get it done.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of plays back to your musical foundation, right? You're kind of riffing. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Right. Right. Again, the performance kind of all has to be challenged through the voice. So for me, if I had to move a certain way or, look upwards or downwards or sideways or grip my teeth, I utilized whatever I could do, even if I looked weird or funny or, you have to kind of get past that with voice acting and just, if you really want to get the right sound or the right, grit on the line or the screen. Sometimes I just squeeze my eyes together when I'm screaming and actually kind of mimic what the character's doing on the screen. Most of the voice acting I did for the games, there was no reference. For about half of them, they would give me a reference. I would hear the Japanese voice actor, and then we did that more for timing than anything, because some of the lines were timed. We had to get them done within a certain exact time. It had to be that time or less. If it went over, we would have to do it again. And from there, the director would say, okay, you're going to have to get this, Kamehameha instead of Kamehameha, like some of them were bigger, longer. We had to have all different types of choices so that when it came time to actually play the game, it would all make sense. Because each player can be, say pit against or challenged by kind of any other player. So they had to make sure we covered all of the grounds. So it was a little bit different, but we did save the more intense work for the end of the session. Thankfully, I didn't have to, I didn't blow my voice out, thankfully, and didn't have to end early at any point. So that's a good thing. But the sessions are a little shorter now. I would go all day sometimes when I was working on the Cell Saga. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was very intense and had quite a bit of dialogue and screaming and battles. battle scene. So to me, I'd kind of already experienced voicing all day and then singing in a band, whether you're sick or not, and changing costumes. If you're sick, you're sick. You just get through it. It's all about the show and the audience. So I kind of translate that into, or transfer that concept into the voice acting with, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Daima, whatever I'm working on. And you do what you got to do, as long as the integrity is good and the creativity and the, everything's done at a high caliber. None of the lines are ever thrown away by any means.
Yeah.
But the director was really good about being specific about those types of things. And voice actor himself was really helpful.
I know you mentioned earlier about like fan conventions and different things like that. There's a lot of things that talk about how like your voice helped define their childhoods. Like, does that still feel crazy to hear? Or like, is that something that you enjoy when you meet fans? Like, how does that feel for you?
That's the best part of it for me, specifically because I always wanted to be a mother, and I wasn't able to have kids. I wanted kids my whole life. I lost my mom right after I got cast as Gohan. It was a very sudden thing, very aggressive form of cancer from some toxic exposure. So I lost my mom in 1999, 26 years ago. And so I kind of, I call myself Animom, anime auntie, now that I'm older and I am old enough to be a lot of my fans' mom. A lot of my fans are having kids and watching Dragon Ball with them. And so I find a lot of joy in meeting not just my fans, but their families, their kids, their babies. That's a extremely joyful moments for me. And it kind of allows me an opportunity to kind of nurture and kind of be a mom like person in their lives. And if the babies are up for it, I like to hold the babies, take pictures, all that. I try to have stuff to give to the kids, little freebies, little Dragon Balls. So that's kind of how I've been able to kind of channel not being able to be a mom and losing my mom into kind of still becoming a mom in my own way. So they're kind of like my kids all over the world, I guess, or all the English speaking anime babies all over. So yeah, that's kind of how I've kind of dealt with that and tried to make something really good out of something really, really difficult.
I love
with
that.
losing mom.
Love that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great fun.
Yeah.
The cosplay is a lot of fun. A lot of the characters or a lot of the fans will come with their kids or themselves, and they'll cosplay as characters from any anime that they love.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are, from Dragon Ball Z. So I always have my camera ready to capture the moment and maybe do a little collaboration video from time to time. Post videos every once in a while on Instagram. My TikTok's been hacked. It's been hacked for about 3 or 4 months now, and I can't seem to get back into it. So I don't know when or what I'm going to do with my TikTok. It's still there, but
are they posting videos and stuff?
No, I mean the old ones are there. I've already tried to get my account back several times. And
so just someone blocked you out and they're not posting videos or anything on it. They just
I just can't get back into it. It defaults to a completely different TikTok account that I never really created.
Yeah, they don't have it.
It's got my picture on it. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'll get to it at some point, but there's a lot of scams out there. They're wanting money to help me get it back. And, it's on the back burner. I'll deal with it at some point. But yeah, I do enjoy, I enjoy meeting the other voice actors at some of the conventions because they're always different. Some of them are pop culture conventions. So I get to meet some of my own personal heroes, from the 80s, the 90s. So I find a lot of joy in teaming up with a lot of different people. I've got pretty much a con family now. I know a lot of the vendors and a lot of their spouses and maybe their kids. So that's kind of become my own real life family, although extended, but still very meaningful friendships that I cherish. And when I get to see people again, it's always like a bonus.
Makes sense. That's how I met Justin and Jason. And so
Yeah.
it becomes a family.
It is. We're all con artists. I'm a con artist.
I have a random question. What if do you have like a very like obscure impression or voice that you can do? Like we talked to, or I watched something and the voiceover actor could do Bobcat Goldthwait, which is very random. And
Oh,
like,
wow.
I'm wondering if you have like a random voice you can do that's obscure.
Yeah. Well, over the years growing up, I would mimic my favorite singers. At one point, I was able to utilize my songwriting. I was a Weird Al Yankovic fan, so I grew up, listening to the parodies and jingles on the radio, and so I started having an affinity for writing jingles and parodies. And I kind of hooked up with some people that worked in the radio business and was able to kind of take part in that. And around the mid 90s, so I started submitting my work to the station, or they would give me an idea and I would come up with a jingle and write it and produce it and come in and record it. And it was always funnier if you could mimic the original singer and not just change the lyrics. And so that was kind of something that I was fascinated with for a while. I did a Britney Spears one. It was instead of hit me baby one more time, it was eat your veggies when you dine. So it's all about vegetables. So squash and tomatoes, corn and potatoes. So I would kind of mimic her styles. I can do Bobby Hill from King of the Hill. But Dad, all this time I thought it was an extra large. I'm actually a medium at the fat kid store. Another kid voice, boy voice. I don't know. Maybe that's just what I'm best at. Yeah, the Beavis and Butthead. I don't think that's such a good idea, Homer. Little Marge Simpson there. So I don't know if they're very obscure, but I do find myself mimicking mostly singers, but occasionally some of the voices.
That's awesome.
The Britney
Spears, very, very great range.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. At one point, I could do a decent Cher, Sonny and Cher. I worked with a show band that was the Senior Breakfast Band for 4 years at the Windstar Casino in Thackerville, Oklahoma. It's about an hour north of here. And as the band would get together for rehearsals, we would start to throw in some bits like that, some comedy bits, and so we did a Sonny and Cher. So. I guess I was trying to mimic her when I sang that song, the I got you, babe, kind of that shaky thing. And like I said, for me, it's because I'm such a music lover and everything started with singing. If I can sing in character voices and mimic the original singer, that for me is always a challenge. And I'll only do it if I really feel like I can really do it. Like I can really hear when it's not quite right. Or if it's something I need to work on a little more, or listen to it again and try again. But I think there's just something about, I don't know if it's just the raspiness that I can achieve. I've never smoked a day in my life, but I can sure sound like I've smoked. I know one of my random characters in Dragon Ball was, my influence was my aunt up in Rhode Island. Nadolny is Polish, and so I've got an extended Polish family up in the Northeast. So when it came time to do that voice, I channeled my Aunt Manya. She's like, "Oh, that's a roundy boy." So I don't know why I can be raspy. I think it's just from singing so many years and having to sing when you're sick and sounding raspy that it just became a comfortable thing that I'm able to channel. And then as I've gotten older, my soprano voice is naturally lowered. And then, of course, doing all of these screaming almost men voices has naturally kind of lowered my tone. So I've got like a lower singing voice. I can still sing really high, but my comfort zone has been, naturally lowered. And I think that's common for pretty much anybody who is a singer.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So going back, I remember you mentioning how you kind of had a fairly close-knit cast when you first started out. Was there a time when you guys kind of looked at each other and was like, we have something really special here? Like it's finally going to start catching on in the US and really blossom into like, oh man, we're really a part of a thing, like whatever that thing is. That
right. Well, to this day, I mean, we're all, from what I can tell, everybody's still amazed that it's still going. The Dragon Ball franchise is, it was one of the gateway animes from Japan. And, we're talking 40 years now. The manga came out in 1984, and the first episode of Dragon Ball aired in Japan in 1986. And that's when I was a child. So it's crazy to think I'm involved in something that was, started 4 decades ago. But at the time, anime wasn't mainstream. And I mean, we all kind of had to learn as we went along, like, what is this thing we're working on? Like, what exactly is it? Where is it going? We weren't even told it was going to be televised. I mean, granted, I didn't ask questions. I showed up and did the work, but I started seeing, wow, it's already on Cartoon Network. Like, we just started dubbing this like a few months ago and it's already on TV. And, the fact that it got that exposure on Cartoon Network and Toonami, only did amazing things for the exposure of the show itself in English. Of course, years later, we all found out it's dubbed in all kinds of languages. There's Spanish, there's Italian. When I was in Italy with my show band, it was on TV in Italian, and I heard the Italian Gohan in my hotel room. It was just mind-boggling. And being out in the souvenir shops, there was Dragon Ball Z stuff everywhere. So it was moments like that kind of really kind of caught us off guard. They did the Burger King special. They gave away the little, I think it was the year 2000. They gave away the little Dragon Ball Z characters on figures in the kids' meals. That was another big wow moment. And then, of course, for me, the biggest wow of all was, Daima coming out and being asked to come back and reprise a role that is so beloved by myself and the fans. And to really go back and challenge myself to capture that young boy innocence, even though Goku is an adult in a kid's body. So I really wanted to make sure that came through in the performance. And that's where the acting chops really come in handy. And when people ask me how or what do you recommend, a lot of us always say, you really need to get your acting chops. You can be a great mimic. You can have a great voice, but really being able to encompass those characters with a unique character voice is ultimately going to be the goal. So, but yeah, no, we all kind of did different things when we first were cast. If you weren't a director, you weren't really necessarily needed to be there every day. And I know some were comedians, some were improv comedians. A few other ones were also musicians, some of the other cast members. One of the girls who I met in, I think that year, 2000, was Meredith McCoy. She was cast as Android 18 and launched for Dragon Ball. I ended up finding out she was a singer, and we needed a singer in the show band I was in. And so I was kind of recruiting singers over the years and training them to be starlets in this show band, Vince Vance. So I actually brought Meredith in and had her audition to be a Valiant, and we traveled on a tour bus together for well over a year. And I'm still in touch with her and a lot of the others that I met back in the day. So, time goes on, but those core memories are very, very precious. And I do like to see my old castmates whenever possible and, talk stories. And we used to do cast parties once a year. And, it's beyond those days now. It was a different time, that was a good 26 years ago. But yeah, no, it's great. I'm really always amazed at how much of an impact Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, the game, I guess Super now. There's been a bunch of movies that have come out, and how much it's impacted the fans and how many new fans there are that are starting to watch it for the first time. I mean, I never saw it all the way through. I did watch Daima because that was a really exciting moment to be back and watch it once a week when it was released on Crunchyroll. So I went ahead and signed up for Crunchyroll, and in between started watching Dragon Ball from the beginning, which I'd never done before. I've only seen clips, and I have like some old DVDs, or not DVD, and VHS tapes. VHS tapes were the first format that we were shown that it was being sold, packaged as. So I started watching Dragon Ball from the beginning, and knowing all the cast in person, and our history and memories of doing various Comic-Cons back in the day, it was more enjoyable because I was picking out the voices and I knew who everybody was. And to see it come together, I didn't realize quite how quirky and how hilarious it was. So I still haven't seen it all the way through. I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z at all or GT.
Interesting. Okay, I was going to
stay
ask
pretty
you if you had a
busy.
favorite villain or a favorite arc, but if you haven't really seen Z all the way through, I'm kinda
Not all the way
curious.
through, but what little I know, of course, I love the Cell Saga.
Yeah.
I could really channel losing a parent when it came
Yeah.
time to be
Yeah.
Gohan and the father-son Kamea wave and all of that. But it's there when I'm ready, and when whoever's ready to watch it. I always recommend watching Dragon Ball from the beginning. The first episode kind of sets the whole story up. We did them backwards, but it kind of gives you an idea of the quirkiness and the comedy and kind of the simplistic nature of the story and of young Goku. And so yeah, someday I'll get to it.
Well, can I offer a suggestion? When you get your TikTok back, you start doing like podcasts of you watching the thing. There's like the office people did it. Like they used like, hey, here's what happened the day we recorded this. Like,
Right.
Like I imagine you could do a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and I bet it would do gangbusters. It'd be really,
Yeah, that's
fun.
a great idea. I will definitely put that on the long list of things
things to do.
I'm still trying to do my taxes from like 5 years ago. I'm like, we had a flood and I'm trying to do my tax. I've got so many things I'm going to be tackling as this year.
You won't tell the IRS if you know.
House renovations, car repairs. I mean, all those things, all the big things are going to get tackled this year. Purging the house, because we travel a lot. We're in and out of town.
Sure.
We're gone half the year, So we're going to slow down this year and get a bunch of stuff done. And
Cool.
So maybe in between I can watch some more.
Maybe, yeah, no pressure. I heard you had to sign up for Crunchyroll. I feel like that should just be a given. They should just give you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Crunchyroll
I didn't
access.
even ask. I don't think they do that. Maybe they
Work that
did
into a
early
contract.
on.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I never expect anything. I mean, people have asked me that. I'm like, I've never really asked. I do like to support the show and the art and the creativity of it, but now that everything's grown so much and there's such a big talent pool here, I don't think those perks are available. So, but I have my VHS tapes, but I don't have a VCR anymore. Play them.
Jason is the guy to talk to. I think he has like 4. It's fine.
We might have one in the garage that still works, but or wouldn't that be something else? Is play some of the VHS tapes. But
before we let you go, you're definitely much more than Dragon Ball. Do you still do your music?
I haven't been lately. I've been working quite a bit out of town, touring with all of this, pop culture Comic-Con stuff, booking this, booking that. I've been asked to collaborate with some people, which I would love to do when the time, is managed, to where we could do that. I do have some ideas of some of my own original songwriting. So during my time off, I'm going to really try to spend some time with music and get back on the keyboard. I did take lessons years ago, but my manager is also my original bass player from the band I sang with starting in 2003. We were besties for 12 years. Now we're together. He travels with me. He's my manager. He fails miserably because I'm unmanageable. I take him with me. I let him kind of manage the business side of things. And we're going to be revamping all of that this next year. But we play music all the time. When we do our road trips, we play trade songs and we talk about the intervals and all the different lingo that you learn in music theory. So we're always up for listening to music, and music for me is very therapeutic. And songs will take you back. Songs will take you back to when you heard them the first time, or you'll hear it again, and it's like you've lived another 10, 20 years. And you're like, wow, and it kind of hits different. So I think music is very universal, no matter where you're from or how you've grown up or what country you've lived in. I think that music is kind of one of the things that unifies people. Yeah, so there's going to be stuff on the horizon. I've also got a full album that was produced in 1997 and 98 called The Cookies. I ran out of breath. The Cookies. And it was a collaboration attempt that we made with Brave Combo. It's a polka nuclear world kind of pop band out of Denton, Texas. They've been together about 40 years as well. And we worked on an original project. So I'm going to figure out how to get that on Spotify. And that's another That's another thing on my list. People are asking where can I hear your music aside from my website or YouTube on some of the anime themes. I don't think there's really anything on Spotify where they can grab that. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to doing.
Taxes.
That music out there. It's new music out there. I mean, even if it's like a cover of something, I want to do like a little teaser song and put together a video or something like that before I get too old to do it.
There you go.
I'd follow you on Spotify, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it'll be a while, but we're gonna put that up. I'm gonna get with the original artist and make sure we've got permission and how to set all of that up so that he gets his portion and however that works out. I just want to do it the right way. Give him his flowers.
As a musical theater kid, I have to ask if there was ever a favorite musical or favorite role you ever did.
Wow, I did a bunch of plays, a lot of musicals. I did Shenandoah. I did Oklahoma was a fun one. I did that my first year of college. I was the understudy to Laurie, who's the real Laurie, the lead role. But I got to learn all the lines and I was ready in the wings if something happened and I was needed. But I also played, part of the chorus. The Fantastics, I was in that. Pippin. I played the lead role in Pippin. I don't know if that's kind of a little bit more of an obscure one.
Oh, we did Pippin in high
Still
school.
one I love. Yeah.
But my dream role would be a character that is animated that voices and sings, like the Little Mermaid, Jodie Benson.
Oh yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have to be Disney. I'm just saying in general, like just a fictional character that sings the role and speaks the lines, because that's actually, believe it or not, a little bit more rare than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times it's a voice actor for the spoken lines and a singer for this.
Even
song.
when I think sometimes like, oh, the singing voice sounds exactly like it, though it's
know.
two separate credits. 100%. They get different talents for both those roles.
Right. And I'd love to do more anime themes. I don't know why they don't do that anymore. I did Yu Yu Hakusho, Sayonara Bye Bye, opening and closing themes for Kitty Grade. I did some for Detective Conan and Case Closed. And I don't know why they stopped. They're great in Japanese. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're just great songs. They're very bubblegum, very K-pop. I'd love to do more of that. Maybe even write songs for like a children's album, lullaby album. I've got some ideas.
That'd be cool. I love that.
I love the little children.
So I'm perusing your IMDb, and this is not this is voice acting maybe related, but Mars Needs Moms. What is alien noises? That's a credit you have, and I'm confused. I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's alien. Well, I when I was with Jemmy Toys, I did a lot of holiday toys. I did when I say that, I mean like Halloween, Christmas. I did a lot of screaming, cackling witches, creatures, made up creatures, anything from a bunny rabbit singing Easter songs to Christmas songs. I could be, whether it's a reindeer, a little, I think I did like some little mice that were twirling around singing Christmas carols. I did a little gift that a toy that I think they put in Spencer's, where it was a frog, but she had little boxing gloves on and she was singing, "Oh, babe, hit me, baby, one more time." And her head would move side to side. So that was one of the times I was able to use the singing with the character voices. So we did all kinds of stuff.
I think I had that frog.
Over the years, I'd have to look and see. I know some
it's
of the
okay. It just cracked me
could
up.
be
I was like,
incorrect. I know that I was not an extra in Titanic as much as I would have loved to.
I was going to ask that.
I didn't even know I had an IMDb page until Dan told me in like 2005.
Well,
Or Wikipedia. I had, like I said, I was a slow learner to technology. I didn't have a computer. I was always traveling. I got one, but then we got our smartphone, that you carry around with you. Can do a lot on your cell phone nowadays.
well, now I want to tag you into movies. I just want to randomly just blow up your IMDb. It's like, was she an Avatar?
Just start adding random things.
I know. I'm like, who regulates this stuff? Like, if it's inaccurate, that seems like
You can go on there and change it.
No, it's fine.
I
Let
don't
me
know
add more
100%.
Just own it.
You'd like
Own
to think it's
Titanic. Yeah, it
accurate,
was in the
like-
background at the dance.
Yes, like Wikipedia and IMDb both. If you just like you reach out to them, you can prove who you are, and it'll let you change it.
Verify it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IRS,
Well, hopefully in the coming years
Spotify,
there'll be more
IMDb.
added to it. Whoever does those sorts of things. There are some things on there I'd actually kind of forgotten about. When I was working with Funimation, I was also working a little bit at ADV Films down in Houston, which is about a 4 or 5 hour drive. And I made some contacts with some of the directors there, and I did go down in 2005 and 6 and record for like a show called The Adventures of Moby Dick. I played Ader, which is another little boy, another rascally little boy voice. I played like, I think Hello Kitty as somebody's mom. Some of them are correct. It's just they were small. Faye on Gravion,
Sure.
Eve and Parasite dolls. They're not ones that I really mention regularly. I also was on. I don't know if you guys have heard of OKKO, Let's Be Heroes. That was a show that was kind of put together in 14 and 15, and I ended up working on the pilot with them. It was called Lakewood Plaza Turbo. I think it's still on YouTube. And then it eventually got picked up, and we did OKKO, Let's Be Heroes. I did the first 8 episodes of that prior to COVID. I was the only one that was flying in out of state, and I made sure I did all of the union, I don't even know what it's SAG-AFTRA. And that was a really cool experience. But that one was different because it wasn't anime. It was recorded in the USA, and we would record prior, and then they would animate around the voices. So being in the same room with all the other cast members was something I hadn't done before. And that was a really cool experience. And to work in, LA with all of this talent and being in person like that and getting to meet everybody. Hope to do more of that in the coming years for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And more music.
More music.
That stuff out there.
Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on. Where can everybody find you online, and what's your website?
My website is stephanienadolny.com. Most everything's there. It's a great source to go to listen to some of these anime themes. It's got my bio, some of my demos. I usually update the gallery week by week as far as where I'm going to be. And if people want to message me or write to me, it goes straight to my email. My manager and I both manage that. Autographs through the mail, things like that, shout outs. I am on Cameo. I do have an Instagram and a Facebook page, Stephanie Nadolny, voice actress. And my Instagram is just Stephanie Nadolny.
Well,
we'll see what happens with TikTok. I'll have to get that worked on. Hopefully I can get it back.
So much. Everybody like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yay, geeks!
Bye, guys.